My name's Miranda and welcome to another video. And today is my wrap up for the month of June. I managed to read 6 books again for the month of June, so I'm doing very well. I'm on track to beat my reading challenge on Goodreads, so I think I'm gonna actually up it. But I'll wait and see. I might slow down for the next couple months considering I'm still not sure what's going on in my life. But I read some fantastic books this month and oh my gosh, some of those endings, oh my gosh. I also read 2 books that are definitely in my top 10, if not possibly top 5 of the year so far. So the first book I finished in the month of June was The Wicked King by Holly Black. So I gave this book a 4 out of 5 stars. It was a very solid sequel. And that cliffhanger, oh my gosh, that cliffhanger, like I'm relieved that Holly Black is now releasing the book in November rather than in 2020 because I need to know how this ends. I need to see what happens after that. For those of you who haven't heard of Wicked King is the sequel to The Cruel Prince, and it follows a young mortal by the name of Jude who lives in the land of Fairy. She was taken there as a child after her half-sister's Fae father killed their mortal parents. And Jude is struggling to survive in the world of fairies being immortal. So I won't say exactly what follows in the second book because I don't want to ruin anything for the first book. But all in all, Wicked King was definitely a solid sequel. Absolutely loved it. The ending was just wow, and I need to know what happens in the next book. I really need to know what happens in the next book. So thank you, Holly Black, for having it released earlier than planned, because then I don't have to wait that much longer. The next book I finished, and this is one of my favorites for the year. I absolutely loved this book, and that is Spinning Silver by Naomi Novik. I gave Spinning Silver a 5 out of 5, and I think I like Spinning Silver more than Uprooted, and Uprooted was in my top 10 favorites of all time. Spinning Silver is a retelling of the fairy tale Rumpelstiltskin, and it follows a young woman by the name of Miriam, who is the daughter and granddaughter of moneylenders, and because her father is really not a very good moneylender, he will lend but he will not collect, Miriam decides when she is very young to take it upon herself to collect from those who owe her father, and she develops a reputation of being able to turn silver into gold. This catches the attention of the Stark King? I think it's how you pronounce it. It's essentially Stark with a Y before the K. This rumor of her being able to turn silver into gold catches the attention of the Stark King, so he sets for her 3 challenges where she must turn different amounts of silver coins into gold for him. And if she does not, she dies. The one thing I loved the most about this book is it's more of a historical sort of retelling in a sense. Historical fantasy, just set in like a fantasy world, but it's definitely heavily inspired by our own history, I believe. I don't know, I don't know Eastern European history that well, so maybe some of it is a little bit more historical than I thought. But something else I loved about this book is that there are 3 storylines. But all 3 of them and the 3 women who are the main focus of those storylines, they are very interconnected. So whatever is affecting one has repercussions for the others. And I loved that. I loved how interconnected all the storylines were. I only had one complaint with this book, and that is how the ending was wrapped up for the storyline of the Duke's daughter, Irene. That was the only thing I did not love as much about this book. I wish there had been a little bit more. I thought it wrapped up a little too quickly, and I wish there had been a little bit more explanation as to what happens afterwards. But everything else was fantastic. I loved it. This is going to be in my new top 10 favorites. And I'm looking forward to any more retellings that Naomi Novik comes out with because both of them have been absolutely phenomenal, at least to me. So if you really like fairy tale retellings and you're looking for a Rumpelstiltskin one, I would highly recommend Spinning Silver. The next book I finished was The Storm Crow by Kaylin Josephson. Okay, try saying that 3 times fast. So this book comes out July 9th. I had an ARC from a previous Fairy Loot box, so I decided to read it just before it comes out. And I did like this book. I gave it a 3 out of 5 stars. Storm Crow follows a princess of a kingdom that has these crows. They're just ginormous crows. You can ride them similar to a dragon. I did say this book is something like Aragon meets And I Darken, and I can definitely see the inspiration for Aragon. One day, during a celebration her kingdom holds for these crows, the kingdom is attacked, all the crows are killed, and all the eggs are destroyed. The attacking kingdom then brokers a deal with the princess's sister, the newly crowned queen, that in exchange for peace, the princess will marry the crown prince of the nation that defeated them. This, of course, does not sit well with the princess, but just after this is announced, she then finds a surviving crow egg. And with this crow egg comes the possible hope of saving her kingdom. So there were definitely some very, obvious Aragon vibes. The whole time I was reading this book, I just kept thinking back to Aragon, which isn't a bad thing. I like Aragon, but it meant I was comparing it a lot to Aragon, and that affected my rating of it quite a bit. But other than that, I enjoyed the world. I like this idea of these massive crows that are all these different types that can control different elements and different, well, not even all of them are elements. There's like the standard elements, and then there's a couple others that are like battle crows and the storm crows, and then there's healing crows. But I did like that idea. I thought that was very interesting. There were two major issues I had with this book, and one of them was the crown prince from the attacking kingdom. He was a very odd character. The only other thing I didn't like is something that happens much later in the book concerning the egg the princess finds. I won't give it away, I won't spoil what it is, but it was something that I wasn't really sure if I liked the direction it was going. But I liked the book enough. I enjoyed that it reminded me a lot of Aragon, and I am looking forward to reading the sequel when it does come out, so I would highly recommend this, especially if you really liked the Inheritance Cycle. Or just the first book, Aragon. Or if you want a book with elemental and healing and battle crows, because they're actually quite interesting. I'm pretty much just calling this book a mix of Avatar and Aragon. I think that makes a little bit more sense than Aragon and End I Darken, because I do not get where they found End I Darken in this book. And I have read End I Darken. The fourth book I read in the month of June was Insanity by Cameron Jace. Now, Insanity is an Alice in Wonderland retelling set in modern day Oxford. And Alice is a patient at an insane asylum, and she's there because she killed all of her classmates, including her boyfriend, on the school bus. While in this asylum, she is then recruited by a mass murderer known as Caterpillar in the hopes that she will be able to stop another mass murderer, the Cheshire Cat. Yes, it is one of those retellings. It wasn't a terrible book. It was weird. It was very, very weird. I gave it a 2 out of 5 stars, mostly because it was just a little too out there for me. I wonder if it might be a little bit more similar to the original Alice in Wonderland. I've never read the original. I've read retellings, but I've never read the original. But I did enjoy it in some respects, enough that I do want to read the second book because it ends off on enough of a cliffhanger that I have way too many questions. So I'm going to give the second book a try and see if I like it. If I do, I'll continue. If not, I tried. But if you're looking for an Alice in Wonderland retelling that is very much out there, I would give this a try. Not quite to my taste, but I have enough questions and I'm intrigued enough by it that I'm willing to continue. I just have to be prepared for how literally insane the read is going to be. So I guess the title Insanity is very appropriate. And then the fifth book I read for the month of June, and this is the other favorite book of mine from my June reads, and that is Vengeful by V.E. Schwab. So I can't say too much about this book because it is the sequel to Vicious, but I will say that for a sequel, it is on par with Vicious. I loved this book. I love the new characters. Marcella in particular was fantastic. She embodies a lot of feelings I'm sure a few women have. And I love the continuation of the cat and mouse game between Victor and Eli because it was fantastic in the first book, and in the second book it's on just a whole other level. And I also like that you got more of Sydney's point of view in this book. For Vengeful, I gave it a 5 out of 5 stars, loved it, fantastic follow-up to Vicious. I kind of hope there might be more because the book does leave off similar to Vicious with the possibility there could be more, but even if there isn't, I'm pretty satisfied. And I think that's a great way to end a book. Have everything wrapped up nicely enough that if you never write anything else, you're satisfied, but you leave it open to the possibility of a bit more. Kind of similar to the ending of Lucifer Season 4. It could have ended there, but it could also continue. Yeah, if I'm mentioning Lucifer a little too much, it's because I just really need Season 5. I also kind of need Season 2 of A Discovery of Witches pretty quick, but I'm also willing to wait because I want them to do well with the filming. Same with Lucifer Season 5. As long as, it's done very, very well, I'm okay waiting, but I'm also not okay. Alright, so back to the books. The final book I read for the month of June was These Rebel Waves by Sarah Rashi? Rashi. This is another book from a Fairy Loot box, which I'm only now just getting to. But I really liked these Rebel Waves. I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars, and I'm quite excited for the sequel. Especially after the ending. I did not see that coming. These Rebel Waves follows 3 different characters by the names of, I'm gonna double check, Adeluna, Devereaux, and Bennett. And it's all shortened to Lou, Vex, and Ben. Lou is the daughter of rebels from the island of Grace Lorraine, and they have finally won their revolution. They have set up their own government. They are free from the kingdom that was oppressing them. But with this new world of politics, she is still coming to terms with everything she did during the revolution. And now with an ambassador from the kingdom that used to oppress them having gone missing, she is determined to find him to put everything right so that the council and the new government does not completely fall apart. Devereaux, or Vex, on the other hand, is a steam raider on the island of Grace Lorraine, which is pretty similar to a pirate. So there's a lot of like extreme parts of the Caribbean vibes I'm getting from this. And Vex kind of gets pulled into this whole ambassador going missing business and is tasked by Lou to help her find the missing ambassador. Ben, on the other hand, is the crown prince of the kingdom of Argrid, the kingdom that was the oppressor of Grace Lorraine. And Argrid is completely against magic. Think Spanish Inquisition. And if anyone is found practicing magic, using it, or even dabbling in it, they are killed by the church. Execution for using magic, definitely Spanish Inquisition. Or I guess any witch hunt or magic hunt that ever happened in history. However, Ben's father, the king of Argrid, then suddenly tasks him with reversing the kingdom's fear of magic. And how this connects all 3 of them, I'm not going to tell you because it is quite a surprise. So as I said, I really enjoyed this book, 4 out of 5 stars, looking forward to the sequel after that ending. The only real complaint I had of this book was what I feel was the insta-love that happened in here. At least I feel it was kind of insta-lovey. Beyond that, I really enjoyed the story. I liked most of the characters, and I enjoyed the inner monologue of Lou as she was trying to process where her place is in the world now that the revolution is over and everything that she did during those times. And I do enjoy the little mysteries in here. One of the twists at the end, though, is a little slightly odd. Still not entirely sure how I feel about it, but I'm willing kind of to let it slide. You know those twists that happen and you're not quite sure how you feel about it because something you read previously makes you question the validity of it, but you're also willing to let it slide because it still kind of makes sense? Yeah, that's kind of how I feel about it. I'm willing to let it slide because it still makes enough amount of sense, but one of the bits in the prologue, it messes with my head when it popped up. Either way, I enjoyed it, looking forward to the sequel, and if you're looking for anything that is Pirates of the Caribbean meets Spanish Inquisition, I highly recommend this. Not quite sure who would be looking for a book like that, but maybe. Or if you're just looking for a pirate book, this is definitely a good one to grab. Alright, so those are the 6 books I read in the month of June. All in all, I say I have a really good reading month. Everything that I read, even if it wasn't something I really loved, I'm looking forward to continuing the series. And I have 2 new favorite books that I will be pestering everyone in my life to read. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you want to see more videos by me, both bookish and travel related, please be sure to click that subscribe button down below. And I'll see you next time. Bye!